Will the city of Faribault need to approve this as well?
It's in their service or maintenance agreement with us. I have to check with Paul, but
don't
last
think
I
they
checked,
actually
no,
need to
it's
take
in
it
their
for
budget, so I do not
council
believe they need to.
All right, any further questions for Kevin? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve Lee Sports Servicing LLC for the high school tennis court resurfacing project.
So move.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Next, the emergency shelter contracts.
Our manufactured housing communities in this community are required to have an emergency shelter. In lieu of them providing their own, they have contracted with Faribault Schools for many years. It's been in place. Actually, Dave Corbel, past board member, brought this to the board many, many years ago and has been in place ever since. Every 2 years we renew the contract. Every year we go through with the manufactured housing communities, the 4 of them listed there: Cannon River Mobile Park, Sunrise Trailer Park, Knollwood Court, and Evergreen Estates. We do go through requirements. They need to have insurance. We go through background checks every year. They do pay for their own background checks. We have background checks done. They do carry keys for the buildings they go to. They use the middle school, 2 of them use the high school, and 1 uses Lincoln Elementary School. In the event of bad weather, the sirens going off, the manufactured housing communities do come down to our schools. They have designated people, which we have done background checks on. They do show up to the school. If they enter the school, before they leave, they need to call us. I have a calling list for every school. They call us, we need to come in, we do check out the school to make sure everything's good, and we lock up the doors. They do get charged that fee for us coming in. It's been a great agreement. We've never had a problem in the past with this. It gives our manufactured housing communities a place to go in the event of a storm. With that, I ask for approval of the new 2-year contract.
Okay. Any further questions for Kevin?
Have they ever used it?
They, at times, yes. A lot of them now have learned that the whole court doesn't come running down there. A lot of times, Dave Corbel, he'll say he'll stand in the parking lot. He'll wait. If it looks serious, they'll go in the school. If not, they just wait outside. It's there if they need it, and they'll quick go in. But it's been a couple of years now since they've actually used the buildings. But they do go down. Actually, we did open it 1 year for the, what's the parade in the spring?
Pet parade.
Yes, the
Or was
pet
it
parade.
pet parade?
Yes, we did use it for that 1 year. Lincoln School used it. They staged in that area, and there was bad weather during that 1 year, so they did use it.
Do they do any drills or anything?
No, we don't do the drills, but we do have a meeting every year and go through the rules. We, the courts, the managers of the courts do send out letters to all their people within their court in several different languages. We do walk through the procedures and what they need to do. I give them maps, draw on it where they need to go, where they report to, where their keys were.
Any further questions for Kevin? I do not think that we have a motion, do we? Okay, so at this time I will entertain a motion to approve the emergency shelter contracts with the manufactured housing communities in our community.
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you very much, Kevin.
Thank you. Thank you for moving me forward.
All right. Next is going back a little bit. Item 8B1, the Sodexo year-end report. I think we have Lori coming forward to.
It's been a slow year. No, I just thank you very much for taking a few minutes just to highlight some of the positive and fun things that we did this year. First off, I want to really congratulate my team. If I had the actual plaque, I would have brought some here to present it to them, but little history again on NSF. They're the company that actually approves all food service equipment. You'll see a stamp on the bottom of those food service equipment in kitchens everywhere, restaurants, every food service establishment. So they're the experts in food and physical safety in the kitchens there. Well, every Every school kitchen has to be audited twice by the health department, and Sodexo took it a step further and contracted with NSF to also come and audit us as well. They pick at random kitchens, either all of them or some of them. It's a nerve-wracking experience. It's about 4 hours. They quiz the employees, they quiz the managers, they quiz me, they check all our documentation, and we kind of got started where we were doing well, and no one wanted to be the one that caused the wheels to come off. So we had a few more schools audited, 3 more kitchens, and this brought our record up to 15 consecutive audits and 15 perfect scores. So that's 2,900 points. We haven't missed a point. I'm really hesitant to say that. Hopefully we will continue that, but the ladies do a fantastic job, and Kevin already left, but I've thanked him and his team as well. They do a great job. Manley comes running anytime we need help. Kevin drops anything, they're always a cell phone call away. So I appreciate all they've done, and our team has just done fantastic. So I need to shout out to all the kitchens that have done well. This year we had the high school, the middle school, and Roosevelt Elementary. They passed with flying colors, so.
So Lori, I'm just curious, are there any other schools that get perfect?
Unofficially, we're the top out of about 4,000 Sodexo accounts across the country. They don't.
Faribault is the top of about 4,000.
Yeah,
Ooh.
so it's pretty good.
Thank you for that.
The ladies just do a fantastic job, but again, it's a great partnership with Kevin and his team to keep us all in operation. And equipment breaks down all the time, but they're there to fix it right away, so we appreciate all that. Now to some fun activities that we did this year. Our annual Dr. Seuss writing contest. We like to do something that's non-food related every once in a while. We have a contest where students have to submit a story. The younger students color a story for us. The older ones write a story, and we get some prizes for them. It's hard for us to judge because there's a lot of well-written stories, but it's just a fun contest that we run every year, and we did that again this year. And we also tapped into some regional support. Edina is where we have our regional chefs. So we brought them down to Roosevelt Elementary and to the high school to do some exhibition cooking. You know, Colleen stopped over at the high school and bought some lunch. She approved of it, and the students liked it. It's fun because the students say, hey, I want to do what he does too. So we hope to, in the future, to get the chefs to also come into the classrooms, see if we can do some of that as well, because there is an interest in pursuing that as well. And the chefs just do a great job, Chef Andrew and Chef Robert. Interestingly enough, Chef Robert at Roosevelt Elementary, one child was crying. She didn't get the colored tray she wanted. So she was having a rough time in the line, and he did some little magic trick, and by the end of the line, she was laughing and smiling and enjoying the food. So it's just a great asset to us to call on to our regional chefs, have them come down. And one of Colleen's favorites is our A to Z salad bar, not just hers though. The students are enjoying it as well, so are the teachers. We get to offer a variety of fruits and vegetables, and some of them are native to where some of the students are coming from. Oh, I haven't had that since I was in Mexico this summer, and it's been a fun process for us to find out which ones they like, keep getting them to try new and different items, because you gotta have plenty of fruits and vegetables, as we'll discuss later on in this process. So the A to Z salad bar is something we'll just continue doing and try and incorporate some of those that they like into the regular menu cycle. Student wellness fair at the high school. The student wellness committee, we were looking for a project, so we had in the past done some fairs at other schools, middle school, high school, elementary. We decided to target the high school, and with Becky Lippert, Barb Sorum at the high school, Kathy, Judy, Martha Schultz, we had some students. We kind of focused, what were they looking for? What were some things that they would like to see? And we utilized some vendors like the Army Fitness in Motion, District 1 Hospital, the Nature Center, the Rice County Sheriff, Erickson Chiropractic. And again, I tapped into our resource and brought down the regional dietitian as well. I thought it was a great event. They got to do some hands-on leadership activities. We tested out some whole grain cookies. I was gonna bring the exact count for you, Todd, sorry.
That's right.
We did have to cut it short because it was a little bit bad weather that day, so couldn't help that. But we saw the positive comments from the students, not only trying some different items, asking good questions. We're gonna continue this process as well, probably take it to the middle school next year. So that was a big hit as well. Some of the additional activities we did, this Friday actually, is the Fit Girls pre-race pasta dinner that Kathy and I are donating our services and the food. We're excited. I think that's a great program, and I hope that gets bigger too. And then the wellness fair and Dr. Seuss. Something that I've never highlighted before that we've been doing for a long time is working with the special ed program. And we actually have some of their students in the secondary transition education program. They work 1 to 2 hours in our dish rooms throughout the district. And they're actually Sodexo employees. I just found out that they're referred to as a Sodexo kids. They get the uniform, they get a paycheck, they come on board. But what we're doing is taking it a step further. Some are actually training to do food prep. They're serving the students. We've had one this year, he's worked 4-hour position. And the other students that are working in the dish room, they said, I want to do what he does. So I have on my desk 2 resumes and cover letters, and I'll be talking to a couple of students and seeing what opportunities we have in the future. It's a fantastic program. Cheryl's team, we worked with Elise, we worked with Angie beforehand. It's just been wonderful. And I applaud also the kitchen managers have taken the time to train these students. Couldn't do it without them. It's fantastic, so we appreciate that very much.
Could I interrupt for just a moment?
Sure.
It was my privilege to see that program in action when I was an active teacher. And to see the effort and the pride and the responsibility that those young people are assuming there, I think it's just outstanding, outstanding. And I'm surprised you haven't highlighted it before. This is only a couple of years on the board, but it is a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for our students.
Well, I just consider them part of the team too. They're part of our Sodexo food service family, but I thought, I want to continue with this partnership, and I also want to highlight the special ed program too.
Absolutely.
They've just done phenomenal. And I like the fact that, they're sending resumes and we want to further our career. That's wonderful. I'm all for that. On meal participation, we went down just a little bit. That's kind of to be expected, that we'll talk about on the next page there. Went down about 3% in elementary and middle school and about 7% in high school, courtesy of the Healthy Hunger Free Kids Act, whole grain foods, more fruits and vegetables and stuff like that. We're still serving about 8 out of 10 students for elementary and middle school, so that's still a pretty good percentage. I kind of called around, because I'm very competitive, and I wanted to see where we stood. A lot of them, we're looking at the average, a lot of them went down at the high school about 14%. So for us going down about 7, that's not too bad. I know Kathy has worked tirelessly redesigning, the serving line, the menu items. She's come up with some really neat packaged products. She and Judy have worked nonstop. What can we do differently? Asking the students what would they like to see. It's a work in progress. We'll keep getting better, and we'll get these numbers back up. It's just a learning curve that we've been doing this year. So it's still pretty good, though. I think it's doing well. Okay, the Healthy Hunger Free Kids Act. I also wanted to highlight what we've been doing, what we did do, and what we're going to do. We've been working towards a healthier food service arena for many years. We took out fryers over 7 years ago when it wasn't even heard of. We drastically reduced the sugar from the breakfast menu, and we took away desserts. We didn't menu desserts. There was no more cookies, Rice Krispie treats. That was courtesy of the Wellness Committee. That was their project that year, is let's reduce the sugar from breakfast. And I was like, really? But it worked, and I applaud their direction for leading us that way. We've switched to whole grains, and even our concessions, we try and be healthier with that as well. Now, with the Healthy Hunger Free Kids Act this year, we added more whole grain items. In fact, our chicken nuggets just went to whole grain as well. The vendors are working fast and furious, so those are already meeting the guidelines. The students had to take that half a cup of fruit or vegetable. Elementary students have done wonderful with that. Middle school is not too bad. High school, well, it's high school. They're doing better. I think when you see the elementary students get to that high school level, it will be a non-issue there. It was a big change for everybody, but we kind of were already there. We were already food-based. So it was just a matter of fact, they had to take that fruit or vegetable, and we have a lot more whole grains, all the pasta, all the bread, and we had to reduce the amount of whole grains. The bread order dropped tremendously because there's a cap on the whole grains. Next year, it's focusing on breakfast. The breakfast items have to be whole grain, half of it at least, but Kathy's gonna try to get there almost 100%, because Colleen likes it when we jump ahead too. And again, we'll have weekly ranges for that. I can't thank Kathy Hager enough for trying, this has been a very challenging way to do the menus. Everything has to meet all these, it was a lot to get us certified in October. And Colleen, oh my heavens, very, very helpful every step of the way. Even when I was questioning, do I really want to be in this career? This is not fun, but very, very supportive and helpful. And I think we've made great strides. And I think as we continue on, it's just going to get better and better. I know that all the fruits and vegetables don't get eaten, but if they did, people wouldn't be hungrier and they'd be healthier. But we're working on coming up with ideas that they like to have. And I think the summer program was already alluded to earlier. We're gonna again do that, but a little bit different. High school's only gonna be the first month. In June, we're gonna do June 5th to the 28th, the high school, and then Roosevelt will go all summer long, June 5th to August 2nd. And the busing, which I didn't give you a little thing, Drew, the flyers will go out. Busing will be from Cannon River Trailer Court, McKinley School, and the Community Center. They'll also have busing and they'll go to Roosevelt. That's kind of gonna be our main site. So I appreciate your time, and I know I kind of talked fast, I get a little nervous up here, but I'd be happy to entertain, any easy questions or positive comments.
Lori, I'm curious about that breakfast participation drops really drastically between elementary and middle school. I'm surprised by that.
It's, we do breakfast in the classroom at the elementary. So the breakfast is brought to them. At the middle school, it's just those that want to come early enough and come in and partake. So that's a big difference between the elementary and the middle school. And I know Colleen has brought up also comments, how can we increase the high school breakfast? And that's something that Kathy and I are working on already. What can we do to make it easier for high school and middle school students to get that breakfast? Because we would like to see those numbers go up as well. Colleen's on top of it. She's already addressed it as well. Never a dull moment here. Anything else?
Other questions for Lori?
Well, you wanted, I'd like to compliment the food service on a wonderful job. It's having watched school lunch for almost 40 years. Things have changed. My mother worked in the school lunch program, and I think Sodexo is doing an outstanding job here in Faribault. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you. All right. I think then there's no action to take here, right? This is a report. So now we're moving on to the Summer Food Services Program for 2013, which is an action item. Lori sat down. I don't know. I assume I meant her too.
Yes, we have a contract. I think the contract that you have attached is a blank document, so you might have to, Jason, look in the signature file to get the amounts off of the contract. The one I've got attached to board book doesn't have amounts in it, so I'm not sure why.
I see amounts every place. I guess I'm not.
Oh, well, maybe I'm looking at the wrong one then.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm not sure where you're looking for numbers that they wouldn't be there. Everything I look for,
all right,
I
if
have
you can see it.
breakfast and lunch charge at $285. Breakfast
Okay.
and lunch charge $292.
Want mine?
All right, so you've got prices there, okay. So this is the contract for the summer food program. That's the first contract we're asking you to approve.
I'd make a motion to approve the summer contract.
We have a motion to approve the summer food contract. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the summer food service program for 2013. Any questions on this item? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next is the item 8B3, the Sedesco fiscal year 13-14 contract.
And I just want to clarify that right underneath that, we do have two action items here. One is the 13-14 contract, and the second action item, which would be separate from this, is to approve the lunch prices for next year. So we'll do those in two separate motions.
Okay.
So the first thing is to look at the 13-14 contract.
Okay, are there any questions on the 13-14 Sedexo food contract? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the contract with Sedexo.
Is there a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion on this item? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And then with the lunch, the fee schedule, was that next?
Yes.
Right there, okay.
Yes. And what how we're required every year, this started a few years ago, you used to be able to set the price for your lunches based on your own determination within the district. But now the USDA, the federal government, because we participate with their program and we offer free and reduced lunches, we get reimbursed for those lunches. They require us to run a calculator on fully paid lunches to make sure that our fully paid lunches are not being subsidized by the free and reduced program. So if we aren't charging enough for our fully paid, then we're required to increase that amount to an acceptable level to make sure that that is not being subsidized by the money we get for the free and reduced program. So as we run that through that calculator, we again have to increase our lunch prices by a dime this year. And the chart that Lori puts together, she does a really nice job of surveying all the big 9 schools and the other 2 local ones. Everything in black are current year prices. And what we're proposing at the very bottom and under the Faribault column in red is that the lunch price go up to $2.05 at the elementary and $2.25 at the secondary. And you can see that even at those rates, we're still going to be similar to, if not lower than, a lot of the big 9 schools for the current year. Now, they're going to have to do the same thing. Everyone has to. Whoever participates in the federal breakfast and lunch program has to run their prices through the calculator. So we're not alone in doing this. Every district is probably going to have to go up at least a nickel, if not a dime. So what we're recommending are those prices listed at the bottom in red, and then the ones in black are not changed.
Can I ask a question about the elementary breakfast? Why is ours so low? Does that have to do with free and reduced? Or
Yes,
we have more free and
Yes.
reduced, so.
we're very fortunate on the one hand.
We're not serving less food than the other
No.
ones.
Any other
Absolutely.
questions on this price schedule?
Yeah, but we're increasing, last year was it a dime too?
Yes,
Was it a dime?
yes. And the year
Basically,
before, I believe it was a nickel, and that was the first year we had to do it.
Is there any, I think I asked the finance consideration of the community, we're, in my opinion, we're a poor community. You know, a lot of free and reduced, we know that already.
Right.
You know, and people are struggling right at that verge, maybe they qualify for free and reduced. Now they have to pay another, what, 10 cents,
Right.
so.
We don't have a choice.
I know, but
The only
the
thing
federal
we-
government telling us what to do again.
We're just ensuring that, you know, the money they give us for free and reduced lunches isn't being used to subsidize a fully paid lunch. There's some rationale behind it.
And I would highlight that these are not the prices for the free and reduced lunch, that those are either free or significantly reduced, so.
Yep.
Do we have a motion? I don't think we've done a motion, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the price schedule for the 2012-2013 lunches, or lunch and breakfast menu.
Actually, that should be the 13-14.
I'm sorry, I misspoke. I'll entertain a motion to approve the price schedule for the 2013-2014 meal fees.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Sure, second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Mr. Clerk, would you please do a roll call?
I'll vote aye. Tom Casper,
Aye.
Yvette Marthaler,
Aye.
Richard Olson,
No,
Ray Robichaud, and Jason Ingber.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, the vote is 5-1 in favor.
Thank you all, the motion carries. We are now on item 8B4. The Hildy GSSB 45 and GASB 16 actual aerial services. Colleen, would you like to tell us about that?
Yep, GASB, the Governmental Accounting Standards Boards, several years ago, some changes were made for public entities to account for things a little bit differently. And we actually have to have an actuarial valuation of our other post-employment benefit costs. So these are long-term obligations that we have for post-employment. And so we are required to do this. It's good to be an actuary. I read somewhere that that's the #1 job now. So darn, should have went into that.
Don't even think about it.
I think I could, I don't know if I could do that all day long. Anyway, this is what this is for. So they will examine all our data on our employees, and they look at how long they think people work and try and project when people retire and how long they live and how much of a benefit they're gonna get, so.
Any other questions on this item? If not, I will entertain a motion to approve Hildy to provide their GASB 45 and GASB 16 actuarial services for the Faribault School District.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Colleen. Now we are on item 8B8, a request for 1.5 FTE for a speech assistant for the fiscal year 13-14. Cheryl Hall is going to come forward and tell us about that.
Good evening. We have a need for increasing our speech services to our students. After looking at our workload analysis, looking at our caseloads and our service loads for our students receiving speech services, our current level of FTE is not at a level that will sustain our services at an appropriate level. With that, looking at what is maybe the most appropriate way to resolve that situation after working with the speech staff is to look at hiring a 1.5 speech assistants. In the state of Minnesota, we are low on speech pathologists, and the direction is really moving toward hiring speech assistants to work to help alleviate some of our caseloads across the state. I think that's the most appropriate way to move forward at this time. With our increase in our medical assistance revenue this year, I thought this might be a good way to utilize those funds to help offset the cost of hiring a 1.5 speech assistant.
Is it true that the medical assistance funds are funneled through the general fund?
Well, they do go into the general fund to be accessed. However, when you look at the use of those funds, it is to offset the cost of
No, I understand
to
that.
the needs of special education students.
I understand that. My concern about acting on this item at this time, and I'm certainly not questioning the need. We have many needs in our district that are not getting met. If we were to act on this today, I think it, for lack of a better word, I'm going to say that it's unfair to all the other items that are, other areas that are not being met. I would be in favor of tabling this particular item until such time as we determine what our funding from the state and will be, and consider this as one of the add-back items, add-to items as we move forward. I'm just a little, we're cutting orchestra, we're making class sizes huge. And so I'm concerned that by adding this now, we're not necessarily respecting the situations that other areas have been in. And since this does come from general fund money, those funds could be allocated to, that's not correct?
No, they flow, like I said, they flow into the general fund, but it is special education dollars. It cannot be used to offset the general education costs. And the other piece of that too is we are mandated to implement the IEPs as stated, and if I don't have the amount of service available to do that, then we are out of compliance and not meeting those
Right.
mandated
Well, then,
needs.
in that case, I was misinformed or misunderstood the fact that this money was coming out of the general fund that is used to support all the other programs.
The law is a little bit specific in medical assistance revenue in that you can use it to pay for a person who does the billing, so our Teresa Rome contract who does that for us, we can use it for that. You can use it to train staff on how to do the paperwork for medical assistance. And beyond that, then you have to use it for the needs of special ed students. So the first thing we always look at is what are the needs? Are there any needs that we're not meeting? And this year Cheryl's identified
Okay.
this need. Now,
No,
if we
I was
don't
never
have-
questioning the need.
Beyond that, if we don't have any additional needs, we can use it to offset current costs, which then allows us to free up some of that subsidized, some of this cross-subsidy for
Mhm.
special education. So that's kind of the fourth in line, which is maybe where you're confused. So there is some ability to use it for current special ed costs, which then frees up that money to be used for other general ed expenses. But that's kind of the last child in line to get the money. So we've got to take care of the special ed needs first.
But it is 100% covered.
Yes.
Mr. Rocha?
Can you talk, Cheryl, just very briefly about the training that these speech assistants receive? This is like a paraprofessional, as I understand it. It's not a speech clinician.
It's not
Or
a speech
license.
clinician, but it is above what we would hire for, the education is above what a paraprofessional is required to have in order to work as a paraprofessional. They would have either an associate's degree in
Associate's
speech
degree.
language
Okay.
or a BA in communication.
Okay.
And just one more piece too with the financial part, is any of this, are any of the reimbursements a part of this as a result of hiring these? Is there a reimbursement from the state and the federal government as a result of spending this money in addition to what we're getting, or is this what we get from the MA billing?
You can't double dip, so we can't,
You can't get reimbursement for
you can't
that.
get
So that's what
reimbursed
the,
for that.
so if you did not do the MA billing, you'd still get the 60%.
Right.
So it's, okay, so it's still a net 32,000 that would be the unreimbursed cost regardless of which way you went. So what I'm saying is that the financial piece, whether you use MA billing or you use the state offset, if you use the state offset, you've got a 40% gap of covering the expenditures. If you use MA billing, then you cover 100% of the cost, right? Okay. All right.
Todd, I hope this is appropriate. You were kind enough to send us an article about the issue of cross-subsidy a few weeks ago. And for point of clarity for our community, I wondered if you could make, some highlights of that. Because we have, with our issues in maintaining programs and having the comprehensive program that we desire, the cross-subsidy does have an impact, and a follow-up question to that, is there anything happening in the legislature this spring that might address that?
Sure. I'll start, and then I might turn it over to Colleen to get more specifics with the financial, but I'm going to use kind of the more of the broader rationale for this, and Jerry knows a lot about this too, so feel free to chime in too, Jerry. But the the general education cost, we get a finite dollar amount that comes into the school district. It's finite. The special education costs or the mandates, the federal mandates that are required to offer our services is not finite. They continue to increase, and the demand on some of those services continue to increase, which is not necessarily a bad thing because we're able to identify students at an earlier age. We can set them on a path to success, but it costs more and more every year. And so if you have a finite cost in the general fund dollars and I'm not gonna say infinite, but a cost that continues to rise each year in a mandate, it's really difficult to balance those two pieces. So what we have to do, because those continuing costs are now above what we can afford in our special education categories, we have to take money from the general fund in order to support that. And each year we have to take a little bit more money to support those mandates. They continue to rise, and the difference between what we receive from our special education revenue from the feds and from the state and what special education really does cost is called the cross subsidy. That difference is a cross subsidy. And this past year, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's about $3 million that we had to take from the general fund in order to provide the relief for those expenditures that we get from the mandates. It used to be zero. We would take $0 away from, back in the 70s, from the general fund in order to support special education, or maybe a smaller amount. But gradually every year that has increased. So that's what the cross subsidy is. It's about $3 million that we have no control over. The second part of your question is, have they talked about at the legislature? And the answer is they have, but there is nothing in current legislation to help relieve that cross subsidy. I think, and this is my own personal opinion, I think until you resolve the entire problem, you're better off putting money on the formula. And you can say you're putting money into that cross subsidy, but again, if you haven't resolved the problem, those costs still continue to climb. There's no reimbursement for it, so you're still continuing to go ahead with that. So there was a proposal to put $125 into the cross subsidy per student, but I think now they've kind of transitioned that, and both the House and the Senate have put that into the formula, into all-day everyday kindergarten, into early childhood. So I hope that answers your question. If you want to follow up with Colleen with some of the more finance or more details, then go ahead. Certainly ask her.
Thank you for your response. You clarified a lot of what I'd been trying to process, and I wanted to get that out into the meeting so that the community can better understand that providing the services that we need, providing the services that we're mandated to give, and I'm not questioning the need for the services, it's just that we are finding it increasingly difficult to find ways to pay for them.
Okay. Any further questions on this item? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve a 1.5 FTE for speech assistant for the fiscal year 2013-2014.
So move.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Cheryl. Next item, item 8B9, 1.0 FTE for the Students with Unique Needs program for our Students with Unique Needs teacher for the fiscal year 2013-2014. Cheryl.
Thank you. We have an additional couple of students that are moving back into the district and who are receiving this level of service in another district at this time. And with their return to the district, we are obligated to provide the same level of service to these students. As you know, we added the SUN program this past year, and for a certain level of student with more mild, moderate disabilities, and with these particular needs that we're talking about today. And these students have another kind of set of needs. They are somewhat more severe in their needs, and they require a different level of programming than the other students. As well as our other 2 classrooms are just about full, which is incredible. After a year of being in program, we've added enough students to have 2 full-time teachers in our SUN program for the current students that we have. This is now an additional third need that has occurred.
Can you give us a total number of students that you think you'll be serving after this?
In this classroom, or
Or
just
in
in
the
a total
Sun
in
program.
the whole SUN program? This will be probably 12 to 14 students.
And do you have any other kids from outside our district coming into the program?
I am talking with another neighboring school district that has contracted with us for services outside of Northfield. And they may have some students that also might access this program as well. And they are also accessing our program for our students with unique needs at the other levels.
To make sure I understand, Cheryl, correct me if I'm mistaken, we are already paying for a number of these students to be traveling. They would be going to another district to get these services, which we would be
Right.
paying for, right?
Right.
Because we're required to
Right.
provide these services. So in fact, there's a cost savings here to providing those services ourselves, in addition to which having solid programming within the community for our students. So hopefully that serves them better as well. So
Exactly,
there is a win-win here.
there is.
Mr. Chair, I have a
Yes,
question.
please.
Of our students, do we send any of our students outside our district?
At this time, we do not, unless they need a service that we do not have here, say a treatment center. That would be for, that they might have special needs and need chemical dependency counseling, or they might go to a residential facility.
But right now,
Currently, I do not have anyone else placed outside of the district for level 4 services.
And
That,
that's a huge
that lives
improvement.
here in Faribault or the neighboring districts.
Any further questions? Okay, my memory says we do not yet have a motion or a second, so, sorry, Mr. Robichaud.
I can't connect to the internet, but I don't recall seeing the cost of this on the memo that came through. Am I missing something?
Nope, it does not have the cost on there. We would estimate this at, when we hire a new teacher with salary and benefits, approximately $60,000.
Does any of this come reimbursed by the state
Yes, we get the state reimbursement on that as well.
for
For
100% of it, or
No,
this
no,
one here
no,
is
the 68%.
68%?
And we are saving the cost of not sending this student to an outside district.
Right, if they were to continue to stay in the program that they're in, and I would transport them from here to that program, you could add an additional $60,000 onto the $35,000 that we already pay for those services.
So there's a substantial savings.
Yes.
Okay.
Plus we keep the kids at home.
And plus, we keep
Exactly.
the kids at home and
Absolutely.
know that we're providing excellent services.
Absolutely.
And transition options.
Mhm. Absolutely.
I would move to approve the addition of a teacher at the SUN program for fiscal
Second.
year 13-14.
We have a second before the motion is completed, that's the first.
Sorry.
I'm assuming you still want to do that, okay. We have a motion and a second to approve 1.0 FTE for students with unique needs teacher for the fiscal year 2013-2014. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you very much, Ron.
Thank you.
All right. We are now on to item 8BC, starting with our enrollment report. So you can see that our numbers are right in line with where they should be. In fact, I think Todd said our average is something like within a few students of what we projected. So our projection was much more accurate than anyone would have a right to expect from such things. So
Way to go,
well
Colleen.
done. So we are right on track with our enrollments. Any questions about that? Okay. We also have our financial report with year-to-date expenses. And, any questions on that? All right. Hearing none, we are now on item 8C3, consider approval of gifts and donations. So we have a number of items in front of us this evening. So starting with Faribault Transportation, bus transportation for the middle school orchestra for a trip to the Sterling House on April 30th, 2013. We have donations in the amount of $9,458 for the 2013-2014 tennis program. And I have a long list of names here, and I think I'm going to read them all, so please bear with me. But I think all of these people have contributed to our district and deserve to be recognized. And I apologize ahead of time if I destroy anyone's name. Cindy and David Mole, Marilyn Wellborn, Jeff and Connie Anderson, Archambault Brothers Disposal, Plush Pup, Keith and Shelley DeVries, Brazil's Barbershop, Faribault Rental, Dr. Thomas Swenson, Roundlink Dental, Faribault Insurance Company, CNS Vending Company, Erickson Furniture Incorporated, William and Deborah Skarupa, Dr. Michael and Paul Hildebrandt, Dr. Eugene and Ann Mole, Potter Chiropractic, David and Edna Thayer, Faribault Area Retired Educators, Sandy Wenker LLC, Isaacson Implement Company Incorporated, Linda Butzo, Matt and Sandra Mentorp, and Reliance Bank. All of those people and organizations made a contribution to the tennis program, and we thank all of them for that. We also thank the Faribault Booster Club with some items on behalf of the Faribault Booster Club. We accept some items for the high school fitness center, and Alpha Dog Power Lift equipment. Maybe it's supposed to be Power Lift equipment. In the amount of $7,512.67. Some TVs valued at $3,929.86. A double power rack. This is the last of our orders for equipment in the amount of $3,701.21. So as we acknowledged earlier, we are exceedingly grateful to the Booster Club for all the work they have done on behalf of the high school fitness center. We also have some pledge donations for the autos program, and so I want to take a moment to read through these. Again, I apologize if I have any, if I destroy any names. It starts with $1,000 from Steve McDonough, $1,000 from MRG Tool and Die, $1,000 from First United Bank, $500 from Midwest Collisions, $3,000 from Owatonna Ford, $100 from Car Time in Owatonna, $500 from Wholesale Tire in Owatonna, $250 from Bliss Ford, $100 from Johnson Auto Sales, $50 from the Community Co-op, $200 from Schema Auto Services, $1,000 from Richard Carlander, $100 from the Borchards, $100 from Dunn Auto Services, $200 from, I assume, the Decaux family, $200 from Mercury's Car Care, $500 from Mercury, Minnesota, $1,000 from Furlong in Faribault, and $8,000 from an anonymous giver. $200 from Barb Lonian, $1,000 from Deb Amon, and $20,000 total. So I want to thank that tremendous list of community members and organizations for their support of a tremendous program here in Faribault. These are the donations that we have in front of us this evening. I'll entertain a motion from the board to accept these gifts.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept these gifts. Any further discussion?
thank you to all those who contributed.
Absolutely. A tremendous list of people giving to our community. Hearing no further.
One more. I'd also like to thank those that solicited the contributions and worked so hard to save a very valuable program.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, any further discussion? With that, I will entertain, I don't think we have a motion or a second yet?
Yes.
We do have a motion and a second. So, without any further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you all. Next, item 9, other committee reports. Insurance committee. Colleen, were you there? Do you wanna?
Well, why don't you come up, we'll talk about it.
Fine, either way.
I was there and, representing the board, and, premium increased about 10.5%. Talked through a lot of it, very, difficult to get through it all. Is that correct, Colleen, pretty much?
Yes.
Yeah, it's very, one thing that, that's kicking in is, I'll call it Obamacare, but the Affordable Care Act. But that's costing us, the district, our taxpayers, and our staff money, administrative fees.
A little bit.
It's starting.
Well, I would
Yeah,
just
it's not
leave
a big
that
part
as
of
a
this.
matter of
It's
discussion
not,
for the
it's
board.
not a big factor in the 10.5%. What drives the premium increase or decrease really is usage. So,
But that Obamacare is kicking in.
yeah, but it's an insignificant amount of what drives that 10.5%. I just wanna mislead people.
Yeah.
And we're trying, I think we're going to less plans or trying to, is that basically discussion, maybe go
The
to,
potential is always there. We offer 4 plans, which is as many as we can offer, and certainly the less plans you offer, sometimes you can control costs a little bit better, but, that's something that takes time to work through.
can you add anything, Colleen?
That's really it. The insurance committee meets just a few times a year, and our main purpose is to look at usage throughout the year and then to look at this renewal information that we get this time of year. So.
Maybe just, can you talk a little bit about the South Central Pool?
Sure. Most districts belong to a pool because, of course, to do it yourself is very difficult with the way healthcare is, and your usage can be way up. We have, you can have some very, very high claims. There are lots of benefits to being part of a pool. In the South Central Service Co-op out of Mankato, we belong to that pool, along with other governmental agencies like cities and counties. They also belong to the pool too. So what really helps us there is we can share administrative costs. That's one of the biggest cost savings. They also can reinsure our high claims. So anything over 200,000 goes out to reinsurance, and that doesn't affect us. And we did have, I believe, 7 high claims this year. So that would really hurt us if we weren't able to take that out of our rate calculation. And health insurance is there when people need it, and we absolutely have to have it in those situations. But it really does help us to be part of the pool. So our increases are, we're still rated as our own group, but they're mitigated a little bit by the fact that the co-op has reserves, so they can buy that down somewhat for all of us when we have a bad year.
Well, we're pretty healthy staff, basically.
Yeah, I think so. It's cyclical, and all my years it tends to go like a roller coaster. You ride that wave up and you come back down, and it's up and down. It's pure, we are self-insured, so it's purely based on what we use, we have to pay for, and that's all it is. So
You mentioned the figure that 7 claims, a certain percentage of the total medical, what was that?
oh, I don't remember off the
Yeah, it
top
was
of my head.
just a few
But
claims, a big
right.
amount.
It pretty much follows that our usage pretty much follows the 80-20 rule. 20% of the people, generate 80% of the premium. 80% of the people don't use anything, use $5,000 or less. So that's why we really encourage the high deductible health plan, because the great majority of people just don't use it. If you're spending less than $5,000, 80% of your staff are spending less than $5,000 on medical costs. It really behooves you to use a high deductible plan, not pay for something you're not using.
All right. Any further questions on this report? All right, hearing none.
Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Yep,
Colleen.
you're welcome.
No report from the Wellness Committee. Community Ed, Anne Marie. Didn't we have you up here already?
Yes, I'll make this quick. Just wanted to bring your attention, this came out in the mail, hopefully to everyone. It's never a perfect product, but nonetheless, it got out the door, and there's lots of opportunity for many different people throughout the community to participate. Just the other couple of things I wanted to mention, the nursing assistant lab that Adult Basic Education and South Central College are partnering on is up and running. There's programming now happening. If anybody's interested in going out and seeing some of that programming, let me know, and I'd be happy to take you out. It's usually about from 6 to 9, I think, 3 days a week.
Provide any services while you're there, so like
Perha-
cosmetology store?
Perhaps, or maybe you'll get certified by accident. I don't know. It's kind of up in the air. Yeah, it's really, really cool. There's dummies and gurneys and beds and bedpans, and it's fully stocked for all of your nursing assistant needs. The other two things, which is a transitional note for community education, it's pretty significant. I have 2 staff that are retiring. Many people are leaving the district, but community education, with its small group of coordinators, there's 2 that are transitioning. Pat Weisler will be retiring out of Adult Basic Education this year, and she's been there 38 years, so a legacy she leaves behind of many grants that she's secured, the perseverance of just having lots of students come through her doors has just been amazing. So kudos to her. It'll be a big loss for us in community education. And Judy Covert, of course, with McKinley Early Childhood, will be transitioning out this year. So just wanted to make sure that you were aware of that significant impact on us. Judy Covert has certainly provided really stable leadership and a bridge to community that's been critical to early learning in this district. So just wanted to bring your attention to that, and that's it.
All right, thank you very much, Amy. All right, we are now on to item 10, other matters. We have already taken care of item 10A, so we are now on item 10B, approve resolution 1304 for the 2013-2014 membership with the Minnesota State High School League. Any questions on this item? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So move.
Is there a second? We have a motion and a second to approve the resolution for membership with the Minnesota State High School League. Any discussion on this item? Hearing none, it's a resolution, so Mr. Clerk, if you would please do a roll call.
I'll vote aye. Tom Casper,
Aye.
Yvette Marthaler,
Aye.
Richard Olson,
Aye.
Jerry Robichaud,
Aye.
and Chairman Ingrid.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, 7-0 in favor.
6-0.
Or 6-0, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Motion carries. Next up is item 10C, approve the revised Faribault High School operating procedures to support policy 503 on student attendance. We had a discussion on this item at our last work session this past week. Any discussion on this item? I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second?
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any further discussion? Mr.
Yeah,
Robichaud?
I don't have the notes in front of me, but at the work session, there were a couple of things that Lyle was gonna follow up on, and I wonder if he could report back. I think one of them was how they're gonna communicate, what are they gonna communicate to parents? And I figure what a couple of the other items were, and perhaps the rest of the board can
Sure. Mr. Toro, if you wouldn't
recall
mind.
those, but I'd like to know if those things are included. I don't see them in here, that's why I'm asking Lyle.
Yeah, the discussion we had last Monday night was that, I believe, Jerry, you wanted or suggested that on section, number 2, where we added guardians to the parents there. And I'm not sure what the other thing was. We talked about email, I think, contacting parents by email or by phone. And we were gonna keep, I think what we agreed upon at the high school was that there'll be some kind of journal or some kind of schedule kept. In fact, we've already got paperwork designed for people to help keep track of who they're talking to.
Okay, all right, thank you, Lyle, I appreciate that.
Any further questions?
I was just wondering, I don't know if Lyle can, well, I brought this up, that how does this improve responsibility? You know, we're trying to teach our kids that when you graduate, you go to school, you get a job. I mean, you better show up on time every day unless you're sick, some other excuse. I mean, what are the consequences with this? And it just, I don't know, to me, it's, I'll be voting against it.